Developing right now on Morning News Now, a show of strength for President Trump and what clearly is his Republican Party in last night's primary elections. This morning, the president celebrating several major victories, including his hand-picked challenger, Ed Gallrein, projected to topple seven-term Kentucky Congressman Thomas Massie, who defied his own party and clashed with the president over several key issues. And on Capitol Hill, acting Attorney General Todd Blanche grilled by Senate lawmakers over that anti-weaponization fund by the DOJ.
So let's be clear. What we're talking about is nothing short of the sitting president of the United States looting from the Treasury for his own gain. Do you seriously think this arrangement is appropriate?
And that's absolutely not what happened, and that's not what's happening now. So you just set up a series of facts, most of which were not true.
We'll take you to Washington for the latest. Also developing new details in that deadly mass shooting at a San Diego mosque. This morning, we're learning more about the 3 people killed in the attack and the 2 teenage suspects who later took their own lives. We'll have the latest from investigators, including a 75-page document possibly written by the suspects. And a split screen of extreme weather across the U.S. On the West Coast, hot and dry conditions posing a challenge for firefighters. And back east, several states bracing for another round of spring storms. Our friend Al Roker is tracking it all so you can plan ahead. And she is in the driver's seat. In our latest edition of Women Mean Business, I'll introduce you to a major player in Formula One racing. How McLaren's Chief Marketing Officer, Louise McEwen, is paving the way for more women in the sport. You know, I'm a big fan. I met her. I just loved her. And she's really changing it for women. So it's
Looking
awesome.
forward to that conversation. We're covering all kinds of racing, including political racing this morning. Good morning. Good to have you with us. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. Thanks so much for being here and getting your day started with us. We are going to begin this Wednesday morning with the results of primary contests held in 6 states across the country yesterday. The results continue to show the grip President Trump has on the Republican Party as it looks towards November's midterm elections. NBC News projects that former Navy SEAL Ed Gallrein has won the Republican primary in Kentucky's 4th congressional district. He defeated incumbent Congressman Thomas Massie in what was the most expensive House primary ever.
Gallrein is the latest candidate handpicked by Mr. Trump to win their primary. He kept a low profile during the campaign, choosing to let President Trump's endorsement speak for him. Gallrein was criticized by Massie for avoiding debates. Massie has clashed with the president over the Epstein files as well as the war with Iran. This race was another win for the president, who has made no secret of his desire to eliminate political rivals within his own party ahead of the midterms. Both candidates in Kentucky spoke out after the race was called.
I want to thank President Trump for his support, his endorsement, and his counsel as I navigated this campaign, which is a journey of unto itself, and for his courageous leadership of our nation at this critical time.
We stirred up something. There is a yearning in this country for somebody who will vote for principles over party.
There are several other races we are continuing to watch this morning. NBC News chief data analyst Steve Kornacki breaks down the biggest races from the big board.
All right, the headline of the night: President Trump asked Republican primary voters in Kentucky's 4th congressional district to throw out long-serving incumbent Congressman Tom Massie, and they did just that. Ed Gallrein, who was endorsed by President Trump, winning by 10 points over Massie, who'd served in the House since 2012. This continues a strong streak that the president's had this month in Republican primaries. Just over the weekend, of course, in Louisiana, he had opposed Senator Bill Cassidy, who was denied renomination in that primary. Now Massie goes down in Kentucky. Other headlines from the night: in Georgia, Senate race here. This is the Republican primary for the right to run against Democrat Jon Ossoff in a closely watched race this fall. This Republican primary will advance to a runoff here. You see Congressman Mike Collins in first place. Derek Dooley, endorsed by Governor Brian Kemp. He got a concession call from Buddy Carter heading into that runoff then with Mike Collins. In the governor's race on the Republican side in Georgia, It will also go to a runoff. Trump has backed Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones. He will face Rick Jackson in a runoff there that'll take place next month. On the Democratic side, there will be no runoff. The former mayor of Atlanta, Keisha Lance Bottoms, she will be the Democratic nominee for governor of Georgia in Alabama. This is the Senate seat being vacated by Tommy Tuberville. He's running for governor there. In the Republican primary here, a runoff looms, but first place, Barry Moore. He's the congressman endorsed by Donald Trump in that race. And a very momentous outcome here for the left in the Democratic Party in the 3rd Congressional District of Pennsylvania. This is the city of Philadelphia. Chris Rabb, he's a self-described Democratic socialist, wins and wins big in this Democratic primary for Congress, defeating Sharif Street. He's the son of a former mayor. He's a state senator. Ayla Stanford finishing 3rd there. So a notable outcome as well on the Democratic side in Philadelphia.
All right, Steve, thank you. And later today, Steve will answer questions during a live Q&A with NBC News subscribers. Just scan the QR code on your screen to subscribe and submit your question. Steve will break it all down live exclusively for those subscribers at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific time on NBCNews.com and our NBC News app.
That is so cool. Trust us as people who get to ask him questions. It's awesome. Let's bring in NBC News political reporter Megan Leibowitz for more on these results and some other headlines from Washington for us. Megan, good morning. So let's start with this loss here for Representative Massie in the Kentucky primary. Tell us what it tells us about President Trump's influence on the GOP right now.
Hey guys, good morning. Yeah, this is just the latest example of President Trump using his political power in order to oust one of his Republican critics. So in the lead up to this race, President Trump had repeatedly been bashing Massie on social media and urging his supporters to go out and to vote for Gallrein, who had been handpicked by President Trump to primary Massie. Now, this is just the latest example of President Trump being able to flex his political power. Just days ago, we saw Senator Bill Cassidy lose his primary just a couple of days ago when President Trump had urged his supporters to go out and to back his challenger. Earlier this month as well, we saw a group of Republican state legislators in Indiana also lose their seats after President Trump had again urged his supporters to oust those lawmakers after they had not fallen in line with the president's demands to push forward redistricting efforts in that state. So, long story short here, this is really showing that the president has still a pretty strong grip on the president, on the party in terms of the direction that the party goes in the future. But remember, guys, the primaries are just one piece of the puzzle here. And now moving forward, all of these candidates are still going to have to go forward and face off against their Democratic rivals this November. Yeah,
we have another big headline, too, from yesterday. This is Texas. President Trump endorsed the attorney general there, Ken Paxton, over the incumbent Republican Senator John Cornyn. That's ahead of their runoff, which is next week. What was the president's rationale? How is Cornyn responding to this?
Yeah, so the president talked about loyalty in his Truth Social post where he had endorsed Paxton, saying that he felt like he was getting enough of that loyalty from Paxton and not enough of it from Cornyn. So in that Truth Social post, one of the first things that he talked about was he said that Paxton was someone who has always been extremely loyal to me and the MAGA movement. And he also said that Cornyn's a good man, but that the longtime senator was not supportive of me when the times were tough. And you can see that Cornyn had responded to President Trump endorsing his rival, touting his work with President Trump and also framing himself as the person who is best equipped to then take on the Democrat this November. He wrote that it is now time for Texas Republican voters to decide if they want a strong nominee to help our GOP candidates down ballot and defeat Tallarico in November, or a weak nominee who jeopardizes everything we care about. Now, looking forward, that runoff takes place next Tuesday, and whoever wins it is going to have to go up against Democrat James Tallarico.
Megan, we also do want to ask you here news related to the war in Iran. On Capitol Hill, the Senate voted yesterday to move forward with this resolution. It would force President Trump to end the war with Iran. But this is a real breakthrough for this Democratic-led effort. We've been seeing this for a while. One Republican senator who recently lost his state's primary flipped his vote this time around to get them there. Tell us about this and what happens next with this resolution.
Yeah, so this vote was really interesting because it was the first time that Senator Bill Cassidy had supported that measure. Remember, just days ago, he lost his primary after President Trump had urged supporters to back his opponent. So in his rationale for describing why he had decided to flip his vote and to vote in favor of this war powers resolution, Senator Cassidy had said that the White House and the Pentagon left Congress in the dark and said that until the administration provides clarity, no congressional authorization or extension can be justified. Now, the vote here was 50-47, with 3 Republican senators who had previously opposed the bill missing the vote. So moving forward, it still has to pass another vote in the Senate. And if those 3 Republicans still vote against the resolution, it'd be a 50-50 tie and it would fail. But if another Republican flips, it would ultimately move past the Senate. Even if it does move past the Senate, it would still face hurdles. It would still have to pass the Republican-controlled House, and it would ultimately likely face a veto from President Trump, guys.
All right, Megan, thanks so much.
We are continuing to learn more details about that so-called anti-weaponization fund announced by the Justice Department. The fund is worth nearly $1.8 billion. It's part of a settlement to a lawsuit brought against the government by President Trump over his leaked tax returns several years ago.
That money would be used to compensate Trump allies who feel they've been unjustly prosecuted by the federal government. That would give January 6 rioters pardoned by the president the ability to seek taxpayer-funded payouts. We're now learning that months before this fund was announced, a now former DOJ official told a Republican ally that big payouts were coming for January 6 defendants.
NBC News senior justice reporter Ryan Riley joins us once again this morning with more on his reporting. Ryan, good to have you with us. So that former DOJ official is Ed Martin. Now, let me look through this here. He was stripped earlier this year of his role as head of the Justice Department's weaponization working group that targeted the president's political foes. Walk us through some more of your reporting here, what we're learning.
Yeah, he still is a pardon attorney, so he still has this role at DOJ, but he was stripped of that weaponization role, so he still has influence. He's often seen at the White House and has photos of him posted there, but essentially, he's been one of the biggest advocates for January 6 rioters within the administration. That's actually really how he formed this relationship with Donald Trump. They were hosting fundraisers for these rioters on Donald Trump's property when he was out of office, and so that's how this relationship came about. And he's been advocating for this for a while now and really pushing the administration to give these payouts and reparations, as he's referred to them. And in this meeting, we had 2 sources who spotted him and heard this conversation that he had with a former Republican senator talking about these payouts. The payout that they were talking about at that point was $40 million. But of course, now we've expanded to $1.776 billion. So a real lot of money that is available potentially to January 6 rioters here.
Ryan, Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche was grilled yesterday on Capitol Hill during a Senate subcommittee hearing about this. What did he say?
Yeah, he really did try to, I think, deflect a lot of the questions, particularly about individual rioters. But take a listen to what he had to say.
It is true that this is unusual. That is true. But it is not unprecedented. And it was done to address something that had never happened again either. So there is an unprecedented nature of what we did. Anybody in this country is eligible to apply if they believe they are a victim of weaponization.
So what the acting attorney general is referring to there with the comparator to previous cases is a much narrower set of circumstances. There was an instance where a fund was available to individuals, specifically Native American farmers, who had been discriminated against and had been rejected when they sought loans from the federal government. And so in 2010, there was this thing set up, and importantly, it was approved by a judge, which is not the case in this new fund, and that gave people who had applied in the 80s and 90s and had been rejected. So very specific qualifications for individuals here. The thing with this pot is there's really not many qualifications at all. They just sort of define these things as weaponization and say if you're a victim of weaponization, you can apply for this fund. So the rules aren't really spelled out at all. These 5 members of the commission are going to have to sort of make up a number of rules for who's able to apply.
Ryan, we're also learning that this IRS settlement stemming from the president's lawsuits over those leaked tax returns prohibits audits and investigations of the president, of his family, of his businesses. What more can you tell us about that?
Yeah, what's really fascinating about this is that it was sort of added on, right? This was usually when you reach a deal, here's the deal, both sides sign it. That was not the case here. They decided the day after, oh, there was something we left out. It wasn't signed by the same officials. In fact, Todd Blanche signed off on this individual sort of side deal. And that has struck a lot of people as abnormal and unusual because, you know, it's giving essentially the president a benefit. There have been estimates that it would cost, if the president's tax records were reevaluated, you know, you're looking at a cost of upwards of $100 million. And so that is a material benefit in the view of a lot of critics that he is getting from this deal, even though he's not getting any individual payout through because of this sort of settlement that was reached before a court had a chance to issue it. But I think this is really all going to be under litigation. There's a lot of opponents who are going to try to find some sort of standing to oppose this taxpayer payout going to a lot of, you know, rioters, including really violent ones who assaulted law enforcement officers on January 6th.
All right, Ryan Riley, thanks for bringing us your exclusive reporting. Appreciate it.
We're learning new details about what sparked Monday's horrific shooting at that mosque in San Diego, which killed 3 men. Investigators are digging into the 2 teenage gunmen and their motives. The FBI says they found more than 30 guns and a crossbow during searches of homes connected to the suspects. Law enforcement officials also say they are trying to authenticate a document posted online that was apparently written by the suspects. The writings are filled with anti-Islamic and other hateful views. All this as the victims are being hailed by their community as heroes. NBC's Morgan Chesky has the latest from San Diego.
Police say just minutes before that shooting, 2 gunmen unleashed a deadly rampage at a mosque, sending school kids running for their lives. 2 senior law enforcement officials telling NBC News the gunmen have been identified as 18-year-old Caleb Vasquez and 17-year-old Kane Clark. And 3 senior law enforcement officials tell NBC News they're trying to authenticate a document purportedly written by the suspects full of anti-Islamic and anti-Semitic views, also describing themselves as anti-Trump. Outside the car where police say they killed themselves, a bottle with a Nazi SS symbol.
They didn't discriminate on who they hated.
And at 9:40 a.m. Monday, 2 hours before the killing spree, police say Clark's mother called police to report her suicidal son had run away, taking his parents' weapons and car. Police started a search, including at a mall and school, when 2 hours later, the first reports of gunfire at the mosque. And then that second shooting scene. Just blocks away, branches still on the ground after police say the gunman opened fire on a landscaper. 1 bullet grazing off his helmet, another embedded right here in this very home. And we're learning more about the victims: Amin Abdullah, Mansour Kaziha, and Nader Awad. Police say Abdullah opened fire on the suspects, and all 3 heroically distracted the gunman away from the mosque before police arrived.
I truly believe that that's what saved the 140 kids that were just inside.
We spoke to Imam Taha Hussein, who said Abdullah also sent a critical warning. Even in the middle of a gunfight, he grabbed his radio and said what?
He sent a message and notification to all the teachers and the staff inside the building that there is an active shooter inside the building. At the last moment of his life, he thought about saving the lives of the kids and everyone inside this building.
And in addition to recovering the more than 30 firearms and that crossbow, authorities say that they believe these 2 teen suspects met online where they were later radicalized. And upon realizing that both lived in San Diego, they began meeting in person. And right now, investigators are doing deep dives into their electronic devices. We'll send it back to you.
All right, Morgan, thank you.
A historic criminal trial is officially underway in Virginia. The former assistant principal of Rich Neck Elementary School is facing felony child neglect charges. She's accused of not doing enough to stop a 6-year-old student from shooting his teacher back in 2023. If found guilty, she would be the first administrator ever convicted over a school shooting. NBC News senior national correspondent Stephanie Gosk has the latest.
A first-of-its-kind criminal trial, a school administrator accused of not doing enough to stop a school shooting. Ebony Parker, the former assistant principal at Rich Neck Elementary in Virginia, is facing 8 counts of felony child neglect, 1 count for each bullet in the 9mm handgun brought into her school.
I looked over, a gun was pointed right at me. He was holding a gun, the student, it was pointed right at me, and then I was shot.
Abigail Zwerner was a first-grade teacher at Rich Neck when a 6-year-old in her class brought in a gun. and shot her, the bullet going through her hand and lodging 2 centimeters from her aorta. These are the chaotic moments right after the January 2023 shooting.
Zwerner was awarded $10 million in a civil trial last year, but now the stakes for Parker are even higher with this criminal trial, facing up to 40 years in prison.
In opening statements, the prosecution pointing out the danger to everyone the day of the shooting.
This case is about the 19 children whose lives were endangered in that moment, but in the moments before as well.
Parker pleaded not guilty to the charges, and her defense team is laying a lot of the blame on Zwerner.
Who was the person that saw these events from beginning to end? That was the teacher, Ms. Zwerner.
But according to the grand jury report, Parker ignored 4 warnings of a potentially dangerous threat.
I went to Dr. Parker and I told her that 2 girls came to me and said that JT had a gun in the bag.
Less than 2 hours later, according to the grand jury, the first grader shot his teacher. Stephanie Gosk, NBC News.
For more on this trial, let's bring in NBC News legal analyst Danny Savallo. So, Danny, this should be a quick one, only expected to last, about 3 days, and there's no real legal precedent for something like this. So, first of all, walk us through the charge here, the felony child neglect, and what is it prosecutors have to argue to try and get a conviction here?
Virginia's child neglect law targets both acts and omissions, and that word omissions is doing all the heavy lifting here. The allegations are that by doing nothing after allegedly receiving information that there was a firearm on the premises, she committed neglect by her omission, by not doing what she should have done and what she was duty-bound to do. That's the prosecution's theory.
What are you going to be looking for as this case unfolds?
I'm looking for mens rea. We already saw a little preview of it in the package. And what you're looking for is this kind of chain of command issue. What the defense is going to try and do is say, sure, even if you say that the defendant did nothing, look around. Other people, look at their reactions. How did they react to these reports of a potential firearm? And is there somebody else in the chain of command who bears more responsibility, including, and this is a delicate thing to say, but Zwerner herself? What was her reaction? Was it raise the alarm immediately, or was it sort of, well, let me wait and see? Because there is a human instinct to sort of freeze up when you get some sort of in a crisis situation. And that maybe, was that what was happening here? Or is this actionable criminal neglect?
Right. Danny Savallo, good to have you with us. Thank you so much.
Well, another line of severe storms swept through the central and southern parts of the country overnight. In central Michigan, strong winds ripped the roof off of this preschool. The teachers there rushed the young kids into a shelter to keep them safe, and luckily no one was injured. And in Minnesota, the governor is calling in the National Guard to help contain an outbreak of wildfires burning across the state. That fire threat is also out west in California, where red flag warnings remain in place today because of high temperatures and gusty winds.
Let's get a look now at what to expect as those storms and the severe heat continue to impact so much of the country with your Morning News Now weather.
Al Roker is with us again today with the latest. Hey, Al, good morning.
Well, good morning. We are looking at a low pressure system pushing its way to the south. Gusty storms along this front, though, tracking into the northeast. We've got an elevated risk for parts of southern Texas. More heavy rain tomorrow. Those showers and storms really start firing up in the plains. We could be looking at some isolated flooding, especially central and southern Texas, into the Gulf and parts of the lower Mississippi River Valley. The heat continues. Records today from Bangor, Maine, all the way down to Blacksburg, Virginia. We're looking at temperatures way above normal. Could see records in Bangor, Boston, down to Balmer and Raleigh, North Carolina. Record 96. We could hit that. Then that front pushes through. It's a heat buster, dropping those temperatures by tomorrow. Boston, you're at 66. Same in Detroit, St. Louis, dropping down to 72 degrees. And you can see over the next few days, as we go into Memorial Day weekend, temperatures warm up in Chicago, Nashville as well, New York City. We stay, though, in the 60s, and it's going to be a wet Memorial Day weekend, unfortunately. Your holiday travel impacts for Friday. East Coast, periods of rain, the I-40, I-64, I-77 all looking a little rough. Airport delays from Nashville to Houston due to heavier showers and thunderstorms, but we'll probably see some off and on delays everywhere else. Saturday looking pretty good, although unfortunately weather up and down the East Coast is a mess. Sunday, more rain, especially down in the lower Mississippi River Valley. Sunny and hot out west. And then Monday, big travel day. East Coast, another rainy one especially as you get down toward the Gulf. I-35, I-20, I-10 going to all be problems. That drenching rain will continue. And as far as the airports, some delays, probably more due to volume than anything else. Boston, New York, D.C. But as you get down into the Gulf, New Orleans and Houston, all looking at possible weather-related delays. And that is your latest weather.
All right, Al, thank you so much. Much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, a show of unity overseas. Chinese President Xi Jinping meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin just days after that historic summit with President Trump. We're going to have the latest from Beijing.
Up first, though, mounting concerns over that hantavirus outbreak linked to a cruise ship. The new quarantine rules for American passengers. We'll be right back.
We are back now with the latest on the hantavirus outbreak. You might recall, initially, the CDC said the Americans exposed to the virus on board that cruise ship were quarantining at a Nebraska medical facility voluntarily. Now the agency says they're not allowed to leave. NBC News correspondent Maggie Vespa has those details.
2 American passengers exposed to hantavirus on this cruise ship blocked from leaving this Nebraska hospital. The CDC confirming it's now implemented quarantine orders and is requiring all 18 passengers remain in isolation here until at least May 31st. This after the New York Times reported a passenger named Angela Perryman, who said she's tested negative and has no symptoms, made plans to travel to Florida and isolate at an Airbnb, something local health officials said last week people would have the option to do.
We want to do this in the least restrictive way possible.
But the Times reported Perryman received a federal order requiring her to stay, saying leaving would constitute a probable source of infection to other people. Perryman, who declined our interview requests, told the Times health officials said they'd contact law enforcement if she tried to leave. Meanwhile, as needed supplies arrive amid Africa's surging Ebola outbreak, Dr. Peter Stafford, the American surgeon who's tested positive, landing in Germany to receive specialized emergency care. The missionary group he was traveling with believes he was exposed operating on a patient in DR Congo 1 week before the outbreak was announced.
So he operated on this patient not knowing that there was an Ebola outbreak brewing?
That's correct. That's correct. I'm very concerned. I'm praying all the time.
They say Stafford's wife, Dr. Rebecca Stafford, their 4 children, and a third American physician are also under quarantine, as the World Health Organization says it's now tracking hundreds of suspected Ebola cases and deaths. Maggie Vespa, NBC News.
Let's turn now to overseas news. Russian President Vladimir Putin is in China for meetings with China's President Xi Jinping just days after President Trump wrapped up his visit to the country.
The leaders held those talks focusing on energy, trade, and technology. More than 20 agreements were signed after both men praised their close ties. Later today, they're going to sit down over tea to discuss geopolitical matters like Ukraine, Iran, and the U.S.
NBC News international correspondent Janice Mackey-Frayer joins us now from Beijing. Janice, good morning. So first off, from an optics standpoint, we want to talk about the welcome ceremony here because our viewers may remember we brought it live when President Trump was there. Walk us through how President Putin's welcome compared to President Trump. Did anything stand out to you there that might tell us how both men are viewed in China?
Well, Savannah, in terms of staging, China appeared to want to give elaborate welcomes to both leaders, though they are different kinds of partners to Beijing. Vladimir Putin had the red carpet at the airport. He was greeted by Wang Yi. He's China's top diplomat. And at the Great Hall, we saw the same honor guard and same joyful children who welcomed President Trump, but waving Russian flags this time. Overall, the welcome for Putin, though, seemed a bit less theatrical. It lacked the grandeur that Xi had choreographed for President Trump's visit. Putin and Xi are old friends. They've met over 40 times, so there's really little reason for Xi to want to impress him. Plus, the current dynamics of the China-Russia relationship have Putin as the subordinate, still a key strategic partner, whereas the U.S. remains a competitor. But in both cases, with President Trump and Russia's President Putin, Xi Jinping is center stage, both as confident host and the central balancing figure for these important relationships. Joe and Savannah.
Janice, we know the two countries had been in talks over a massive pipeline project that would deliver Russian gas to China. Where do things stand with that? And keeping in mind the Chinese-American summit was short on deals, what more can you tell us about some of the agreements that were signed today?
Power Siberia 2 is a massive second gas pipeline that Russia desperately wants to build into China. Putin has pushed hard for this because Russia has lost so much of the European gas market over the Ukraine war. But she's reluctant to go all in, to not have China too reliant on Russian energy. They announced a general understanding, but no final agreement on cost or timing. And that reveals a bit about the balance of power here. Russia needs China more than China needs Russia. What Xi and Putin did announce was more energy trade. They're going to use more Chinese yuan instead of dollars. And they had a joint statement opposing what they call American dominance. So really, it's the deepening of an already very close relationship. Joe.
Janice, we mentioned that later today it's expected they'll discuss Ukraine, Iran, the U.S. What are we expecting to come of those conversations?
Well, what Xi and Putin want, what binds them, is a world less dominated by the United States. And that was the central message today. Talks focused on the wars in Ukraine and the Middle East. Both are focused on instability in the Middle East because China needs that Gulf oil and Russia benefits from having energy markets staying tight. Xi and Putin called for a, quote, complete cessation of hostilities in the Middle East, and they warned it was unacceptable for fighting to resume. Xi also said that hegemony was running rampant in the world, and that was a veiled swipe at the U.S., even if Xi is courting Trump. But strategically, the summit shows a larger reality, that China is looking more like the senior partner in the relationship, while Russia is becoming more dependent on Beijing, economically, strategically, and for legitimacy. And these back-to-back visits show a real balancing act by Xi Jinping and spotlights China's growing global clout, which has long been China's ambition. Joe and Savannah.
Janice, thank you so much. Coming up, good for the heart. New research shows just how important exercise is for your overall health, but how much exercise you need may shock you.
Dr. Patel is in for our weekly checkup next on Morning News Now. We're back now with your weekly medical checkup. This week, we're looking at new research into the benefits of exercise on your heart health.
Also, taking vitamin D supplements during pregnancy may benefit your child's brain as they get older.
Here to help us break down these health headlines is NBC News medical contributor Dr. Kavita Patel. Dr. Patel, good to have you with us. So let's start with that study about exercise and heart health. So realistically, just how much physical activity should we do to protect our hearts?
All right, Joe and Savannah, we have all heard that about 150 minutes per week is linked to heart health in general, and that's what we've been recommending across the United States. Well, a UK study of over 17,000 adults done over 2 years looked at how much physical activity it really takes to really decrease your cardiovascular risk, and we were surprised to see that it took as much as 560 to 610 minutes per week of moderate to vigorous activity to lower your heart attack and stroke risk as high as 30%. Now, keep in mind, only about 12% of that population could actually keep up that level of activity. Not everybody necessarily needs that much. So the doctor's orders here are actually just target this to your needs. 150 minutes per week for most Americans is incredible, and I think an incredible goal. But if you need more on an individual basis, build up your endurance and start to aim for more.
All right, good tips there. Okay, this one I want to talk about, it has to do with your brain health, brain injury, and soccer. Maybe interesting for parents here to think about their kids who are playing soccer. Obviously, the World Cup is on a lot of people's minds, but people know like that move where you're going to hit the ball with your head. It's called heading, and there looks to be some link here, maybe not surprising, with the potential for brain injury. What should parents and players know?
Yeah, this is World Cup season. We're hosting it in the United States. I've got a young soccer player in my family already. A study of 302 amateur male soccer players, so keep in mind these were adult amateur males, measured acute blood biomarkers of injury. So some of the neural injury markers that we would see in the blood after kind of a real-time heading exposure in a real-life match. What they found, not surprising, was that high impact heading and the more heading was associated with higher and acute increases in two biomarkers that are specific to neural injury, p-tau and S100B. These are biomarkers that we do see often even in like brain in accidents and motor vehicle collisions. So that's the kind of level of exposure that brains are having. So this was also a dose relationship, Savannah. So the more headers you had over a period of time, the higher the likelihood was that those biomarkers would go up. So the doctor's orders here are pretty clear. Try to restrict heading, especially in younger, but also even in the amateur athletic population, and then take precautions. If you do have headers, get evaluated. I think we think of soccer as a safer sport, but many studies globally have found that it can be even more injurious than football, where we have helmets. Wow. We don't even have that in soccer.
Yeah, no helmets in soccer. I don't think that trend's going to pick up anytime soon. All right, finally, let's quickly get to this last study. It shows a link between taking vitamin D3 supplements during pregnancy and just better brain development for your child years after they're born. Walk us through this one.
Yeah, randomized clinical trial looking at follow-up studies at the age of 10 and what children at the age of 10 and a lot of their cognitive abilities, educational abilities reflected from prenatal vitamin intake. Standard vitamin intake in the prenatal setting is about 400 units a day, and they looked at 400 units a day as well as a comparison of moms who took 2,800 units a day. That's really high dose vitamin D, and they found that in the higher doses that those 10-year-olds had better cognitive ability, better learning, and overall better social and emotional kind of health. The doctor's orders here, do this on an individual basis. Talk to your clinician. This is not a standard. It's a smaller study. High doses are not for everyone.
All right, Dr. Patel, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Thank you.
Coming up, miracle at the Garden. The New York Knicks defying all odds in Game 1, of the Eastern Conference Final with an incredible 22-point comeback win over the Cavs in overtime. And in the West, we're still talking about Wemby's explosive performance for the Spurs, why experts say it is just a glimpse at the future of the NBA.
And a new twist on an old Broadway classic. We're going to pull back the curtain on an immersive version of the Phantom of the Opera. That is next on Morning News Now.
Welcome back. The road to the NBA Finals has been filled with performances out of a storybook over the past couple of days. Basketball fans were treated to overtime thrillers in both games that opened the conference finals this week. Last night, the New York Knicks stormed back from a 22-point deficit to beat the Cleveland Cavaliers 115-104 in the East.
The league had barely caught its breath after that instant classic on Monday in the Western Conference. The San Antonio Spurs held on, beating the reigning champs, the OKC Thunder, 122-115. Also, that went double overtime. A great start as we inch closer to the NBA Finals.
Let's bring in NBC News sports reporter Rohan Nadkarni to give us a recap of all the NBA excitement this week. Rohan, good morning. It is good to be a New Yorker today. That game was just crazy. I mean, it was like a Hollywood writing, like we just said, that deficit they came back from. Walk us through this game last night.
Yeah, it was really incredible. The Knicks down by as many as 22 points in the fourth quarter. And then Jalen Brunson just went into hero mode, just attacking James Harden over and over again in the fourth quarter. The Knicks went on an incredible run. That was the kind of game, by the time it went to overtime, you knew the Knicks were going to dominate, which is the way they had shaken Cleveland's confidence. It was a really incredible comeback. Jalen Brunson in particular was just spectacular.
We're talking about incredible performances. We have to mention Victor Wembanyama, the French superstar, helped the Spurs steal that home court advantage in this series. He's also showing why he's just truly a one-of-a-kind player. I'm a Minnesota Timberwolves fan, so I witnessed it firsthand last week. Walk us through what made his performance so memorable.
I mean, this was just really unbelievable stuff, guys. You have to run to a TV whenever Victor Wembanyama is playing. He just dominated the game on both ends. He makes the Thunder scared to go into the paint. They basically run away from him when he's playing defense. And on offense, there's just no answer for him. He was committed to getting to the rim, took only 2 threes in that game. He was just absolutely dominating inside. And in the second overtime, when you expect him to be tired playing all these minutes, he just took over completely. 9 points in the second overtime.
For the second straight year, the Wemby missed out on winning the MVP, but I mean, people are saying he's essentially just like something the league has never seen before, potential to be one of the greatest players of all time. So really, regardless of how this particular series plays out, how high do you think his ceiling is in the league?
It is not hyperbole to say he has a chance to go down as the greatest NBA player ever. We've simply never seen anything like him. He's 7'6". He is the prohibitive favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year. every single year for the rest of his career. And then on top of that, he just scored 41 points in a playoff game. He's completely dominant on both ends of the floor. He's great emotional intelligence, great maturity, one of the most well-rounded players we've ever seen. He really, truly is like nothing we have ever seen before.
I will say there was the game where he was ejected against the Timberwolves for that elbow. And the Spurs are a good team. Like, even without him, they have some really good talent. So I think it's a strong team and something to keep an eye on, not just this year, but in future years. Before we let you go, Rohan, what are you looking forward to most just the rest of the conference finals here?
Just these are incredibly high level, all desperate teams, every single one with something to prove. I'm just really excited about the intensity of the action. Anybody who says NBA players don't try, don't care about the regular season, you are not going to get more high-level basketball than what we're seeing in the conference finals. Just please appreciate the intensity of the action we're going to get the next couple of weeks.
Rohan, always great to see you. Thanks so much.
We're getting a behind-the-scenes look at a well-known Broadway musical presented in a whole new way. It is called Masquerade, an immersive version of the Phantom of the Opera unfolding across 6 floors of an old art supply store. Of course, Phantom of the Opera was a New York staple, the longest-running show in Broadway history. It won 7 Tony Awards and was adapted into an Academy Award-winning film. The Broadway production closed in 2023 after a 35-year run. It didn't take long, though, for that music-loving Phantom to find a new haunt to haunt. Those thunderous sounds, synonymous with a certain masked organist, no longer bellow across a traditional Broadway theater. They now echo through the halls of a building once home to Lee's Art Shop, where outside visitors line up, dressed to the nines in black, silver, and white, donning their own masks before immersing themselves in a musical world. Inside, the audience of about 60 is constantly moving alongside the performers.
The huge difference is that the audience is a part of the story. It's beautiful to have that level of artistry with an audience member and taking from whatever they give and use it and infuse it within the show every single night.
So every performance feels different because you're reacting to the people around you.
In real time.
As that audience moves from room to room, they might assume they've got this 6-story building to themselves. And then
you talk to audience afterwards and you say, you know, there were 6 massive musicals happening at one time. And they're like, wait, what?
I had no idea.
Then we did our job, because you're supposed to feel like you are the only audience in this building.
You see, Clay Singer, Quentin Earl Darrington, and Telly Leung all play the Phantom, along with 3 others. 6 Phantoms for 6 audiences, each group flowing through the space, staggered just 15 minutes apart. I experienced this myself. It was amazing, and I have one question for you. How?
How? It broke my brain. It literally did.
Tony-winning director Diane Paulus oversaw the testing and workshops in complex math, figuring out how to make it all work.
That was the super matrix, we call it. How do you do this across 6 floors of a building where no audience member are ever going to see each other, crash in each other? We've soundproofed all the rooms. We've timed everything literally to the second.
All of it endorsed by legendary composer Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber 4 decades after the show's debut.
It's an experience in the theatrical experience that you'd never get anywhere else. I mean, I've never seen anything like it.
This is the definition of immersive, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Riley Nolan is one of 6 Christines, the soprano pursued by the Phantom, swept to his underground lair by boat.
And then after the first verse, just like that, we start moving, just like this. And I'm singing.
What do you see on the faces of the fans as you ride through?
You know, sometimes I feel like I'm seeing people's childhood dreams like coming to life.
Through it all, the audience keeps their masks on, though I did remove mine to try on some famous face wear.
Do I have it right?
No, not quite. Wait, let me.
Best to leave it to the Phantoms, who are embracing a new way to share the music of the night.
I had my father here last night, and what other kind of show are we going to get to perform and look directly into a loved one's eyes.
What was that like for you?
It was emotional. I mean, he actually showed me Phantom growing up, so to be able to do this and be just a foot away from him, yeah, it was an emotional show, and it always is when you have loved ones there.
And hopefully this is the blueprint for other immersive versions of musicals to come.
A Phantom of the Opera has passionate fans, spelled P-H-A-N-S. Some have seen the show at least 6 times, catching each of the Phantoms. They call it their bingo card. If you want to see it for the first time, you can catch Masquerade here in Midtown Manhattan. The show now currently booking tickets through the end of the year. Features new music, including one written for this show, another restored from the film adaptation. There's even a backstory for the Phantom, not seen in the original musical. All right, coming up on Morning News Now, she is a driving force in Formula One racing. McLaren's Chief Marketing Officer, Louise McEwen, breaking barriers for women in the sport. She's going to join Savannah next for the latest edition of Women Mean Business. Stay with us.
We are going to end this hour with our ongoing series, Women Mean Business. Today's guest is breaking barriers in a sport that hasn't always been easily accessible for women, Formula One. Lou McEwen is the Chief Marketing Officer at McLaren Racing. She first donned that iconic papaya hue back in 2014 when she joined the F1 team as a consultant. Well, now Lou is a pillar of McLaren's commercial leadership team and the mastermind behind its entire racing brand. For Lou, representation has always been a top priority, especially since nearly half of F1's global fan base is women. That representation is mirrored in her marketing team, which is more than 50% women. She was also the leader behind McLaren's collaborations with Levi's, Reese, Abercrombie, all of which centered around female fans. Lou McEwen is a woman who means business, and I am so excited to have Lou live with us in studio this morning. Lou, good morning. Thanks for being here.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
I have just loved you since the minute that I met you back in Texas at the Austin Grand Prix last year. And it's because of everything I just said, what you're doing for women in this sport, the energy that you have around the sport and targeting female fans. Let me just thank you for those collaborations and the cute clothes that we can now actually get as women who are fans of the sport. And let's start on that. What has it been like to be a woman in this sport? Is it something that you notice even?
Well, I've been in and around the sport now for about 25 years, kind of showing my age there. But right now, it's an incredible time to be in the sport. I'm leading an incredible brand at a time when the sport's never been in such great health. And I think you put all those things together. McLaren have always been female first. And you mentioned some of the collaborations, the Reese collection that we pioneered a couple of years ago. And we were quite unique in that we were always thinking about female-first collections, and it's been great for female fans to come in. It gives them an accessible way for for women to support the team.
Absolutely. A lot of people, I'm sure, have seen the F1 movie, or maybe that's even how they really became a fan of the sport. In that, there's this team principal who's a woman. While that's not the case and that's not exactly your job, it gives us a peek into what it's like in some of those rooms. What has it been like for you being on the executive team?
Well, at McLaren, I'm not the only woman on the exec team. We've actually got 3 incredible women that sit at the top table, reporting into Zach Brown, the CEO, including our CFO as well, and his chief of staff. So I've never really felt different in that sense. And Zach is passionate about marketing and the commercial elements. So he gets all that. So it's been a real privilege, really. But I think, you have this responsibility in the sport because you realise not everyone's pathways into that is so easy. So I think it's really a really big responsibility now for us to ensure we're inspiring the next generation.
We certainly are. Okay, and one of those moments came. You told me the greatest story, and we love great stories here, when you went up on the podium, which I think, am I right, that you were only the 11th woman to have been up on a Formula One podium?
At that time, I was the 11th woman.
Yes.
I'm pleased to say that stat's gone up. In fact, Laura Bowden, our CFO, took the podium in Netherlands, and there's been, I think, another 2 women since. So I think we're probably up to about 14 now.
Okay, great.
So we're doing well.
Tell me about this moment.
So honestly, it was totally unexpected. I was actually at track in Miami. Zach was on the pit wall, and he sent me a message to say, if we win, you're up. It was simple as that. And I actually thought he was joking because this wasn't something that had really crossed my mind. And of course, you never know if you're up until the car crosses the line. So it might never have happened. But in those moments where I was thinking it could happen, there was kind of, well, what do I do? Because there's no playbook for this is what you do, although the drivers do it and you've seen it a zillion times. So there was a few moments of, well, can I do it? Can I spray the champagne? Turns out I can.
It is heavy though, right?
It's a big bottle. And I don't know about you, I've never really practiced that at home.
Oh, it's happening at my house all the time. No, I'm just kidding. It was, what a fun moment to watch and what a memory for you.
Yeah.
The American fan base is really energized. It's expanded. I think things like the movie I mentioned, like the Netflix series Drive to Survive, have brought it to a whole new audience, and that certainly includes more women here. What has that been like, though, for the team, especially as now there are 3 American Grand Prix? As you go to Miami, as you go to Austin, as you go to Las Vegas, what's it like to race on American soil and see us excited about it?
It's awesome. And you know what? We always looked, as we were growing, and we sit here today as World Constructors Champions. We've got Lando, the Drivers' Champion. Like, what an honour, right? But if you go back through history, it wasn't that long ago that McLaren were at the back of the team. So when we were growing and getting the brand to where it is today, we looked a lot across the pond to the US to see, look at your fandom, because you do this, US does fandom really well and does sports really well. And I think now having 3 amazing races, all of the races here, are oversubscribed by our partners and fans, and really incredible activations around all of them. So we're always energized and excited to come to the US and go racing.
It's so great. And by the way, you had a great American race. The Miami Grand Prix was the last race. We had you on 2 and 3 where McLaren up there on the podium. How exciting a moment is that? And explain to us, it's pretty rare to have both your drivers up on the podium and that just happened for y'all.
It's really rare. And if obviously you go back to just the start of the season, it's brand new regulations in our sport. And we didn't have the easiest start. We knew it was going to be a tough season. But I think coming back, having a 2-3, as you say, in Miami, seeing the boys up there was really exciting. And I think, there's a long season ahead, lots of points to play for. So we're going to keep pushing. I think there's a really good sense now back at base in the UK with the Team R. We've done lots of work in the last couple of weeks. So excited to go racing.
It's been fun to watch because it has been the most monumental changes to Formula One most of our fans have ever seen and some of the drivers have ever dealt with. Lou, wonderful to see you. Thank you so much for joining us, for being here with us today. I'm just such a fan of yours and of McLaren, and it's so great to have you as a woman who means business.
Thank you for having me.
It's so good to see you. And that is going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now, but stay with us. The news continues right now.
Right now on Morning News Now, Decision Day in America, handing down some big primary results across 6 states in the run-up to November's critical midterms. The headline race we're watching out of Kentucky's 4th district, NBC News projecting White House critic Congressman Thomas Massie will end up falling to his Trump-backed challenger. His concession overnight as the commander-in-chief's political revenge campaign claims yet another top Republican on Capitol Hill. Also this morning, the Manhattan mystery that's stunning New Yorkers across the city. Investigation now underway. Why did a woman fall to her death down an open manhole right here in Midtown? Plus, pre-summer bummer. Mother Nature cranking up temps for folks up and down the East Coast, sending millions scrambling for a way to beat the heat. But will it finally cool down for the Memorial Day long weekend? Our Al Roker is tracking it all. And the beat goes on. We are celebrating all things Cher today as the goddess of pop herself turns the big 8-0. So later in the hour, I'll turn back time with a special look at her rise to the top and what the future may hold if we all just, well, believe. This is just to prepare for my Cher documentary that I'll write at some point in my life.
Oh, please.
I think it's been done, actually.
Biography.
All right, good to have you with us. Let's begin this hour with a big midterm primary election night now in the books. Voters making more of their choices clear.
The most expensive House primary in history in the state of Kentucky gives a Trump-backed candidate a huge win that could potentially reshape the makeup of the House of Representatives. NBC News projects former Navy SEAL Ed Gallrein as the winner of the Republican primary in the state's 4th congressional district. He defeated incumbent Congressman Thomas Massie, who often clashed with the president, particularly when it came to the Epstein files and the war with Iran. Meanwhile, there will be a runoff in the GOP race for Georgia Senate. Congressman Mike Collins and former football coach Derek Dooley will head to a runoff next month after no candidate secured a majority of that vote. The winner will take on Democratic Senator John Ossoff in the fall. And another Trump-backed candidate has an advantage this morning in the Republican primary for Georgia governor. NBC News projects Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones, who received President Trump's support, and businessman Rick Jackson will advance to a primary runoff. Let's begin with NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Julie Sirkin. She's joining us now from Kentucky with more on that closely watched House race. Julie, good morning. Thanks for being up early with us after a late night. So Ed Gallrein's big win last night over incumbent Thomas Massie, that's seen for this as a win for President Trump. He's made it known in recent weeks he's looking to eliminate political enemies from office during this midterm election. So walk us through how Gallrein was able to come out on top.
Yeah, guys, good morning. Gallrein stuck to the president like glue. In the minutes after, it became pretty obvious when I was at Thomas Massie's campaign headquarters that Gallrein was going to pull it out on top. I was talking to someone really close to the president who essentially told me that this win for Gallrein means that the president keeps his commitments, meaning if he tells a Republican he's going to unseat them, he's going to follow through on it. And look, for Gallrein's sake, I spent 2 days talking to voters. I talked to several voters who said it was just Massie's time to go. The president had nothing to do with their decision, but there were certainly some people who said they didn't like that they felt like Massie voted against the president when it comes to the One Big Beautiful Bill, when it comes to opposing the war in Iran, and of course those Epstein files. Just take a little bit of a listen to what Gallrein had to tell supporters at his party last night.
I want to thank President Trump for his support, his endorsement, and his counsel as I navigated this campaign. Now my focus is on advancing the president's and the party's agenda to put America first and Kentucky always.
This was a huge win for Gallrein. He was a political unknown. I was actually here about 2 months ago in March when the president held an event and introduced Gallrein to the crowd. He said he was looking for a warm body to beat Massie, and of course he got more than that in Gallrein.
Let's talk about Congressman Massie. He has been a vocal critic of the president when it comes to things like Iran and the Epstein files. Was the writing on the wall in terms of his political fate before voters went out to the polls yesterday? I mean, a lot of money was spent here.
A lot of money, $35 million at least, the most expensive House primary in history. That's a ton of money here. Even people that I spoke to who were supporting Gallrein told me they were just shocked by the number of ads, by the number of flyers that came in their mail, and that money could have been used elsewhere. But the writing really wasn't on the wall for Massie, not in this district. This is a different area than, let's say, Louisiana, where Cassidy, maybe the writing was on the wall for him because of his vote to convict the president. In this area, people are a little bit more libertarian, independent-minded. Even as I was talking to voters yesterday and the day before, they told me, look, they might not agree with everything Massie has done, but the fact that the president was trying to get them to pick somebody else, that motivated them to stick with Massie. I'll tell you one thing, and Massie mentioned this to me before. He said it's going to come down to turnout. Some people I talked to weren't registered. They weren't even going to vote because they supported the president and they felt like he didn't follow through, and they think elections don't matter. Obviously, we saw that they do. And here's what Massie had to say last night at his campaign party.
Welcome to the most expensive congressional primary ever in the 250-year history of this country. It's not just the most expensive. This thing went on longer than Vietnam. It started 9 months ago, and they didn't even have a candidate, and they decided they want to take me out.
So look, Massie there at his party. The supporters there, though, were really thrilled, even though Massie lost. And there is an age gap when you look at the polls and the results of this election. Younger voters did stick with Massie. Older voters tended to vote for Gallrein. So I don't think this is the end of Massie's movement. I do think something interesting is happening, though, as we look ahead to the midterms and the Republican Party.
Julie, one more. President Trump hopes to continue to sway the GOP primaries in his favor, and the Texas Senate Republican primary runoff is set for next week. That race could potentially decide control of the Senate. Now, the president's endorsing Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. What should we know about that race and the influence there?
Yeah, Paxton has been marred in controversy. It's why Republican leaders on Capitol Hill, the beat I usually cover, they've been lobbying President Trump to endorse Senator John Cornyn. He's been in office for a long time. He was elected statewide in Texas for multiple decades. You see him there on the screen. But look, Cornyn needed the president's endorsement. Just 24 hours ago, he told people that he didn't believe that the president was endorsing. Early voting already started for this runoff that's happening next week. And then came the endorsement from President Trump, clearly emboldened, feeling like he could put his thumb on the scale and he doesn't need to listen necessarily to outside advisors. A lot of Republicans are worried about the Paxton endorsement because they feel like when it comes to the general election in November, James Tallarico, he's the Democratic candidate, they feel like they could have less chances going with Paxton than they would have with someone like Cornyn, someone a little bit more moderate that works across the aisle. Paxton certainly is the president's guy, and he really enjoyed getting that endorsement yesterday. He was in the middle of campaigning. The president, when he announced this endorsement, he called John Cornyn a good guy, but he said he didn't stick with him when the times were tough, and that's ultimately why he spoke to Paxton, who was loyal to him through and through.
All right, Julie Sirkin, thank you so much. Well, let's stay in Washington. There is growing backlash this morning over a deal between President Trump and his own Department of Justice. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche was grilled on Capitol Hill yesterday after the DOJ set up a nearly $1.8 billion fund to compensate allies of the president who say they were wrongfully targeted by the Biden administration. NBC News senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez is at the White House with more. Gabe, good morning.
Savannah, good morning. Democrats are calling it a slush fund, and even the Senate's top Republican is skeptical. But the White House is doubling down and leaving open the possibility that January 6th rioters could be compensated.
This morning, the Trump administration is defending what it calls its anti-weaponization fund, nearly $1.8 billion of taxpayer money to pay Trump allies who say they were wrongly prosecuted by the Biden administration.
We should look at those things case by case.
Vice President Vance not ruling out compensating convicted January 6th rioters.
Maybe they did something bad even, but what they were accused of was way worse of what they actually did.
The president agreeing to drop multiple lawsuits in exchange for the Justice Department setting up the fund. The settlement also says the government would be forever barred and precluded from pursuing certain legal claims against the president and his family, including anything related to previous tax returns. Overnight, protesters projecting this quote on the DOJ headquarters. On Capitol Hill, Democrats grilling acting Attorney General and former Trump personal lawyer Todd Blanche.
This is corruption that has never been more blatant.
Even the Senate's top Republican saying he's not a big fan of the fund.
There are and will be, continue to be, a lot of questions around that the administration is going to have to answer.
Blanche telling lawmakers he'll pick a 5-member panel to decide how to distribute the money, though he could not guarantee the names of those who receive payouts would be disclosed.
There's obviously laws that exist around privacy that may prevent some of the information that the commission takes in from being fully public.
Overnight, longtime Trump ally Michael Caputo, who says he was unfairly investigated over Russia's efforts to interfere in the 2016 election, asked for $2.7 million in restitution.
Anybody in this country is eligible to apply if they believe they were victim of weaponization.
Also raising questions about spending, the president's controversial new White House ballroom. The president is also saying it's about 6 stories deep at this point, and he insists private donors will pay for the structure, even as his administration asked Congress for $1 billion taxpayer dollars for security upgrades. Savannah.
All right, Gabe, thank you so much. We are learning new details about Monday's deadly shooting at that mosque in San Diego, which killed 3 men. Investigators are digging into the 2 suspected teenage gunmen and their motives. Authorities say they had an arsenal of weapons at their disposal, while apparent writings by the suspects detailing anti-Islamic and other hateful material are also being looked at. All this as the heroic actions of the victims are now emerging. NBC News national correspondent Morgan Chesky joins us from San Diego with the latest. Morgan, good morning.
Yeah, Savannah, good morning. And FBI agents say that after conducting search warrants on homes tied to these teen suspects, they seized more than 30 firearms, even a crossbow that they believe these teens had access to. Not only that, but they say that they're looking into some writings in which they expressed hatred for a wide variety of groups. Meanwhile, though, here at the Islamic Center of San Diego, where this brazen attack took place, a memorial is growing. And overnight, hundreds gathered to pay tribute to the 3 men who lost their lives protecting others.
Overnight, prayers and tributes for the 3 men who lost their lives trying to protect their place of worship and those inside. The vigil coming amid troubling new insight into the attack on this San Diego mosque and the apparent motives of the two teenage gunmen. This dashboard cam video showing glass breaking as even more shots ring out. Police say the gunmen, whom two senior law enforcement officials identified to NBC as 18-year-old Caleb Vasquez and 17-year-old Kane Clark, fatally shot themselves inside the car, a gas can with a Nazi symbol found outside. 3 senior law enforcement officials tell NBC News they're now trying to authenticate a 75-page document reportedly written by the suspects full of both anti-Islamic and anti-Semitic views, also describing themselves as anti-Trump.
They didn't discriminate on who they hated. It covered a wide aspect of races and religions.
We're also learning more about the victims who are being remembered as heroes. Amin Abdullah, Mansour Kaziha, and Nader Awad, all fathers and respected members of their community.
They exemplified what it means to be a human, what it means to be a Muslim, what it means to be an American.
When the suspects entered the mosque, police say Abdullah opened fire. The other 2 men running to help, drawing the shooter's attention for crucial seconds.
I truly believe that that's what saved the 140 kids that were just inside.
Even under fire, police say Abdullah had the presence of mind to activate the mosque's active shooter protocol.
This is an act of heroism. There is nothing else to describe what he did.
Abdullah's daughter paying tribute to his example.
And I believe that's exactly the legacy he left behind. He wants all of us to be better.
You can hear the emotion in her voice there. Abdullah's daughter, one of his 8 children, and since his passing, volunteers have already raised nearly $3 million to support his family. Meanwhile, regarding those 30 weapons seized by FBI agents, Savannah, authorities say that because at least a portion of those were owned by one of the suspect's parents, they're looking into whether those adults could be held responsible in some way. Savannah.
Morgan Chesky, thank you. Well, National Transportation Safety Board hearing is currently underway to determine what led to that deadly UPS plane crash in Louisville, Kentucky last November. In this new video we're showing you, it was released just yesterday. You can see the moment the left engine of the plane detached, caught fire, and exploded over the plane before hitting several businesses on the ground. In all, 15 people were killed in the incident, including all 3 pilots on board. Investigators believe metal fatigue caused the engine to break free. Well, now to a story that is shocking New Yorkers and raising some serious questions this morning. Police say Monday night, a woman getting out of her car in midtown Manhattan plunged to her death after falling into an open manhole. Now, her family is demanding answers about how something like this could happen. NBC News correspondent Sam Brock spoke with a man who witnessed the incident. He joins us with more. Sam, good morning.
A lot of folks, Savannah, good morning, are having a hard time processing how this could happen.
Absolutely.
The critical question in all of it is, why was that manhole not covered? The tragedy happening Monday night just before 11:20, and this is off of 5th Avenue, right in the middle of Midtown. A man who was just walking to his job at an area hotel told me that he looked up from his phone and saw a woman park her car, take one step out, and in his words, vanish. Utility company Con Edison says it's investigating the possibility that a large truck drove over the manhole and displaced the cover minutes before. In an instant, a block in midtown Manhattan turned into a New York nightmare after police say 56-year-old Donika Gotsai fell right into an open manhole.
I looked up for a second and I saw this lady get out of her black SUV, and I saw her get out, close the door, and she took a step forward, and it was like she vanished.
Carlton Wood was walking to work at a nearby hotel when he saw Gotsai fall.
I looked down into the hole and I saw her, and I just immediately called 911.
What did you hear when you looked over?
When I looked over initially, it was just like a scream. She was screaming, I'm dying, I'm dying.
This morning, we're learning more about the mother from Westchester County, New York, who posted onto Facebook last year, "Congratulations to my son and future daughter-in-law in celebrating their bridal shower." Her page including a photo with what appears to be her son in a tuxedo. On scene and visibly shaken, he confirmed to NBC New York it was his mother who died. Taylor Shabanian says she watched first responders try and pull the victim from the 10-foot hole.
I'm walking every day today right now being like not stepping on these things.
The city's manhole covers and their secured perimeters are the responsibility of utility company Con Edison. with a City Hall spokesperson saying city agencies are working with Con Ed to support the emergency response and conduct a full investigation into what occurred. The utility company, which had an open permit to conduct work on that block, according to the city, says they're investigating the incident, but they have reviewed video footage from the area, which suggests that the cover was dislodged after a multi-axle truck turning onto 52nd Street from 5th Avenue drove over it. Then just minutes later, the accident, which Wood says came without cones or warning signs around the manhole.
I mean, this could have happened to me if I would have kept walking. This could have happened to anybody. It wasn't about situational awareness.
Yeah, just sort of a freak occurrence here, Savannah. Eyewitnesses did jump in, that includes Mr. Wood, to try and save the 56-year-old. He says that he and 4 other folks tried unsuccessfully to pull Goat's Eye out, with one man even sitting on the lid and dangling his feet, hoping to be able to grab them. It was just too deep, though. He says that fire and EMS were on the scene within minutes. I should add, Con Edison is investigating, the city is investigating. Recently, a couple of months ago, personally, I witnessed a large vehicle driving down 5th Avenue, maybe 2 blocks from where this all happened, strike a cover, and these things are enormous. It was rolling on the street onto the sidewalk, and it landed on a woman's foot, and she was writhing in pain. I watched this happen. So clearly, the margin for error here is very thin, and perhaps there'll be some protocol changes for safety. But why was the manhole not covered at all? That's really the question.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, and just thinking about her family. Oh, it's just terrible.
Brutal.
All right, Sam, thanks so much. Well, this morning, heat advisories are in effect for more than 30 million people as a dangerous early season heat wave grips the Northeast. Meanwhile, other parts of the country are dealing with severe storms and tornado damage. NBC News senior national correspondent Stephanie Gosk is tracking it all and has the latest. Steph, good morning.
Here in New York, temperatures are already nearing 80 degrees and heading into the 90s, while down in Philadelphia, dozens of schools are going to remote learning to cope as officials across the Northeast and beyond urge residents to take precautions.
This morning, millions of Americans are sweltering in an unseasonably early blast of summer heat.
Oh my God, it's killing me. I'm dying.
Temperatures across the East Coast soaring into the upper 90s, shattering records from Raleigh, North Carolina to Portland, Maine, and sending people searching for any way to cool off.
Splash pad, and that's about it.
Some school districts even dismissing students early, especially in buildings without air conditioning.
I'm in class, so we have to step out, go in the hallway, get some cool, fresh air.
Health officials are warning people to take the extreme heat seriously.
Don't overdo it. Don't overexert yourself. Make sure that you stay hydrated.
While some are heading to the beach days before Memorial Day weekend, a day in the sun taking a scary turn in New York City. Beachgoers forming human chains to assist in the search for a 17-year-old boy, missing after going swimming along Rockaway Beach Tuesday, with lifeguards not yet patrolling city beaches until this weekend. Meanwhile, across the country, hot and dry conditions sparking dangerous fires in California. A wildfire raging in Simi Valley, winds whipping up the flames, while first responders raced to battle the blaze. Some residents now picking up the pieces, including this community, where a camera captured the fire sweeping through earlier this week.
We've had so much outpouring of love from the neighbors. I'm going to get emotional now. Everybody's been wonderful.
Back to the extreme heat here on the East Coast. Doctors say when it's so hot and humid, it can mess with your body's ability to regulate temperature. So make sure you stay hydrated and out of the sun. Now, that may not matter for Memorial Day when things are expected to significantly cool down. Back to you.
All right, Steph, thanks so much. We've got more details now on the strong storms and when we can expect a break from that record-setting heat with our Morning News Now weather. And Al Roker joining us this morning. Al, good morning.
Well, good morning. We are looking at a low pressure system pushing its way to the south. Gusty storms along this front, though, tracking into the northeast. We've got an elevated risk for parts of southern Texas. More heavy rain tomorrow. Those showers and storms really start firing up in the plains. We could be looking at some isolated flooding, especially central and southern Texas, into the Gulf and parts of the lower Mississippi River Valley. The heat continues. Records today from Bangor, Maine, all the way down to Blacksburg, Virginia. We're looking at temperatures way above above normal. Could see records in Bangor, Boston, down to Balmer and Raleigh, North Carolina. Record 96. We could hit that. Then that front pushes through. It's a heat buster, dropping those temperatures by tomorrow. Boston, you're at 66. Same in Detroit. St. Louis dropping down to 72 degrees. And you can see over the next few days as we go into Memorial Day weekend, temperatures warm up in Chicago, Nashville as well, New York City. We stay, though, in the 60s, and it's going to be a wet Memorial Day weekend, unfortunately. Your holiday travel impacts for Friday. East Coast, periods of rain, the I-40, I-64, I-77 all looking a little rough. Airport delays from Nashville to Houston due to heavier showers and thunderstorms, but we'll probably see some off and on delays everywhere else. Saturday looking pretty good, although unfortunately weather up and down the East Coast is a mess. Sunday, more rain, especially down in the lower Mississippi River Valley. Sunny and hot out west. And then Monday, big travel day. East Coast, another rainy one, especially as you get down toward the Gulf. I-35, I-20, I-10 going to all be problems. That drenching rain will continue. And as far as the airports, some delays, probably more due to volume than anything else. Boston, New York, D.C. But as you get down into the Gulf, New Orleans and Houston, all looking at possible weather-related delays. And that is your latest weather.
All right, Al, thank you so much. Well, with the unofficial start of summer upon us, as we're just talking about, millions of Americans are heading to the beach this holiday weekend. Officials are warning swimmers to be shark smart in the water, though. They are seeing more shark activity than usual this time of year, including strange behavior from one species spotted hunting off the East Coast. NBC News correspondent Emily Ikeda is taking a deep dive for us this morning. Emily, strange behavior from sharks. Don't love the sound of that. Good morning. I see you're out on the Jersey Shore.
Yeah, I think that's catching a lot of people's attention. Good morning to you, Savannah. Right now, researchers with OSearch are actually tracking a great white nearly 10 feet long, pretty far off the coast of New Jersey, as sharks are making an earlier appearance near some beaches. But it's not just the great white. That is a species that officials are closely monitoring this summer. With Americans diving into the unofficial start to summer this weekend, officials are reminding beachgoers to celebrate with caution.
We've seen sharks as big as 15 feet long in less than 5 feet of water.
Experts at the Atlantic White Shark Conservancy are getting a shark's eye view through camera tags and tracking new behavior from one species called the dusky shark, recently spotted near Nantucket and caught on camera for the first time ever hunting a seal. While not as long and beefy as its great white cousin, it's often identifiable by its crescent moon tail, blunt round snout, and snake-like movement. Both species can swim in shallow water close to shore.
I know not everybody is going to be thrilled that there's now a second species of shark hunting for seals in the waters off of our beaches, but the public safety messaging remains the same. You want to be shark smart. You don't want to swim with shark food.
An important reminder as the season of sharks heats up. Over the weekend, this nearly 7-foot-long shark got stuck in shallow water in Rhode Island, seen thrashing. And just on Sunday, a possible shark bite at a Maryland state park landed this longtime surfer in the hospital. Down in Florida, a paddleboarder is also recovering from a gnarly wound after he says he was bit less than 200 yards offshore.
I wasn't like in severe pain, like screaming in pain.
Experts tell us they're already seeing an uptick of great whites out west. You can see researchers tagging a juvenile shark this month. The Cal State Long Beach Shark Lab says the start of a strong El Nino cycle is ushering in warmer waters and therefore may push sharks farther up the California coast this year. And while a surge in sharks may evoke the 1975 classic,
hold it up, he's coming straight for us.
Experts say unprovoked attacks are incredibly rare and have actually decreased in the past 5 years.
Do people need to worry about the dusky shark?
No, they need to be celebrating its return. Seeing these animals recover means our fish populations are recovering, the whole system is abundant and recovering, and it is an excellent, excellent sign for the future.
So of the nearly 550 different species of shark, the vast majority, according to researchers, have never been recorded to bite a human. And in those rare instances, researchers believe that it's often just a case of mistaken identity. So safe to say, when you see the schools of fish, when you see the seals, steer clear, and we should be in for a safe and fun summer, Savannah.
All right, Emily Ikeda, thanks for all those tips. Much more to come on this hour of Morning News Now, including the SAT prep controversy that is testing the patience of parents. Meanwhile, nationwide, our wealthier families paying up to give their children a special leg up. First, though, after the break, the race to contain that deadly Ebola outbreak in Africa. More on the American doctor who's tested positive, all while on a missionary trip to the Congo. His condition as officials scramble to trace the scope of this latest surge in cases. That is next. We are back now with the latest on that deadly outbreak of a strain of Ebola in Africa and its potential spread. This morning, an American doctor is being treated at a hospital after being exposed to the virus while doing mission work in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. NBC News international correspondent Molly Hunter is following this story. She joins us now with the latest. Molly, good morning.
Savannah, good morning to you. So this morning, global health officials are sounding the alarm. Given the scale of the outbreak so far, at least 600 suspected cases, they believe that actually the spread started way before the first detected case.
Morning, new details about the American doctor who tested positive for Ebola, now receiving emergency care in Berlin, as health officials race to trace infections in Central Africa and worry the scale of the outbreak is already larger than first reported.
We expect those numbers to keep increasing, given the amount of time the virus was circulating before the outbreak was detected.
Surgeon Peter Stafford was evacuated from the Democratic Republic of Congo yesterday. The missionary group Dr. Stafford was working with, Surge, believe he contracted Ebola while operating unknowingly on an infected patient.
2 days after the announcement of the outbreak was made, Peter began to have some of the nonspecific symptoms that are classic for Ebola: chills, fever, muscle aches, fatigue, nausea.
Back in 2014, during that Ebola outbreak, patients in the U.S. were treated at the same biocontainment facility in Omaha, Nebraska, currently treating hantavirus patients. The DRC is facing its 17th outbreak of Ebola, but a different strain this time, meaning early testing wasn't catching it.
We have less experience with this strain. It's occurring in an environment that proved really, really challenging in 2018, 2019, when we had a vaccine already ready and were able to deploy that.
This time, there's no vaccine at the ready, but officials say the risk in the U.S. is low.
Americans be concerned about Ebola?
I'm concerned about everything, but certainly am. I think that, it's been confined right now to Africa.
Now, this morning, Dr. Stafford's wife, who's also a doctor who is working in the DRC, her name is Rebecca. She and their 4 children are now being transported to the same hospital in Berlin where he's receiving treatment. And Savannah, we are just learning this morning about another American physician, Dr. Patrick LaRochelle. He was also potentially exposed working in the DRC. He is now being evacuated to a hospital in Prague for expert monitoring. Savannah?
All right, Molly, thank you so much. We've got more international news now. In Bolivia, violent anti-government protests are crippling the country's capital this morning. NBC News international correspondent Claudio Lavanga joins us from Rome to take us around the world in 60 seconds. Claudio, good morning.
Hey, Savannah, good morning. Well, that's right. Weeks of widespread protests and blockades against the president of Bolivia brought the capital, La Paz, to literally a standstill. Now, the demonstrations were started by workers' unions representing miners and peasants who demand the resignation of President Rodrigo Paz less than 6 months after he took office. The union is asking for wage increases, while peasants demand a steady supply of gasoline. Paz warned the protesters that those seeking to destroy democracy, he said, will go to jail. Let's go to Thailand now, where U.S. citizens are among dozens of nationalities who will soon have to apply for a visa to visit the country for more than 30 days. Since 2024, tourists from 93 countries, including the U.S., have been allowed to visit without a visa for 60 days in an attempt to boost the economy after the COVID pandemic. But on Tuesday, the government decided to revoke the exemption, citing security and a confusing visa scheme as reasons for the change. And let's end this tour of the world in England, where on Tuesday, Arsenal won the Premier League for the first time in 22 years. The club was crowned champion after Manchester City failed to beat Bournemouth. That means that with 4 points behind and only 1 game left to play, Manchester City has no chance to bridge the gap. And if anybody at home, Savannah, didn't understand a word of what I just said, well, they better keep up with the soccer basics, because the World Cup, the Soccer World Cup, is just around the corner and will come to a stadium near you and them in June. Savannah?
Claudia, we've got our senior producer, Adrian Butler, my husband, Alex Uragi. Huge Arsenal fans, big days for the both of them. We're very happy for them. Claudio, thank you so much.
They must be happy.
Exactly. Coming up, a sneak peek at history unfolding right now in the Windy City. When we come back, a stunning first look at the Obama Presidential Center set to open its doors next month after a decade of preparations. We'll take you to Chicago next.
We're back now with a closer look at what's making news in the world of politics this morning, starting with how one Republican senator who recently lost his state's primary is moving the needle on the War Powers resolution in Congress. NBC News political reporter Megan Leibowitz joins us with this and other headlines from Washington. Megan, good morning.
Hey, Joe, good morning. Yeah, let's kick things off in the Senate, where senators voted to advance a war powers resolution. Now, the bill aims to force President Trump to seek congressional authorization for further military action against Iran. The Senate moved that resolution forward with a 50-47 vote after Senator Bill Cassidy flipped to side with Democrats and support that measure. Now, remember, this comes after he lost his primary just days ago. This bill, though, still has to pass a final vote in the Senate, get passed by the House, and if it makes it through all of those steps, would still probably face a veto. Let's go next to Virginia, where Governor Abigail Spanberger said that she's going to sign an executive order today related to elections. Spanberger, who's a Democrat, said that the executive order would help election workers respond if federal agents go to polling sites. In her remarks yesterday, she expressed concerns about the possibility of voter intimidation efforts in the midterm elections this fall. Now, President Trump has frequently made false claims about elections, and other Democrats, too, have expressed concerns about potential voter intimidation. Finally, let's go to the NAACP, which is now calling on black student athletes to boycott public universities in the South. Now, the reasoning here comes down to the Supreme Court's decision last month when it ruled against Louisiana's congressional map, deciding that it was a racial gerrymander. Now, the court's decision effectively weakened the Voting Rights Act. Now the NAACP laid out 8 priority states, calling on athletes, fans, and consumers to boycott athletic and financial support from public colleges there. In a statement, the CEO of the NAACP said that what states have done is basically, quote, a sprint to erase black political power. And that's a look at what's making news in politics this morning. Joe?
All right, Megan, thank you so much. Next month, the Obama Presidential Center will officially open its doors in Chicago 10 years after the project first began. What started as a presidential museum has grown into a broader community campus, complete with public gathering spaces, programs, and amenities for the city's South Side. Reporter Marianne Ahern from our NBC Chicago station got a look inside.
Oh, it did take a while. It did take a while.
Obama Foundation CEO Valerie Jarrett responds to the 10 years it took since President Obama left office to complete the Chicago Obama Presidential Center. The cost estimated at $850 million, far more than anticipated, and it is estimated about $200 million of it in taxpayer funds for infrastructure projects.
We expanded the scope of what we wanted to build. Initially, it was going to be a museum, but as a result of these extensive community meetings, we thought, well, let's build a campus. Let's have an athletic center. Let's have these the Forum building where we can have people come in and have a restaurant and have a music studio. And so as we expanded the scope of the project, of course, the project budget grew.
The Oval Office is an exact replica, from the curtains, the presidential seal rug on the floor, to the paintings on the wall. Yes, you're going to get a chance to see the Oval Office, what it looked like during the Obama years. You're also going to see a restaurant, a basketball court. There will be a sledding hill in the wintertime. And the exhibits address not just the accomplishments, but also the controversies.
Accomplishments and controversies and work that didn't get finished. I mean, for example, you know how hard we worked on immigration reform. We were not able to get legislation for that. We worked so hard to close the loopholes so that we could keep guns out of the hands of people who were a danger to themselves or to others. We were not able to accomplish that. But it's unrealistic to think you can get everything done.
Hello, Chicago! Looking back at that night at Grant Park when Barack Obama won his first campaign, through the next 8 years, this new center is a learning opportunity. But Jarrett also hopes it is a catalyst for others.
But importantly, they'll leave inspired to do a little something different in their own lives, with this sense of infinite possibilities that each of us ordinary people have to do extraordinary things.
And our thanks to Mary Ann Ahern for that report. The museum will charge an admission price, but most of the campus will be free and open to the public. The former president and First Lady are expected to attend the grand opening next month. Coming up, testing patience when Morning News Now returns. Why some parents of college-hungry high schoolers say wealthy families are gaming the system, all for special SAT accommodations that could give their children an unfair edge when applying to top schools. We got that next. Welcome back. Chances are, if you use the internet, you probably use Google to look things up every single day. Well, the tech giant announced some big changes are coming to its famous search box for the first time in 25 years. That news revealed at its annual developer conference. Google is now leaning into artificial intelligence more than ever, thanks to its own AI model, Gemini. Gone are the days when search results would simply lead to a long list of website links. Now, Google's upgraded search experience will soon involve AI agents that could help you shop, also make bookings on things like home repairs or your next haircut. For more on what all this means for your future searches, let's bring in Tech Radar Editor-in-Chief Lance Ulanoff. Lance, good to have you with us. So many of us have maybe used this AI mode in Google's search for a while now, but this seems like Google's really turning up the dial on the capabilities. So just give us an overview of the biggest changes coming to the search bar.
Yeah, I feel like if you liked your search with the side of AI, it is now the main course. It is inescapable. So one of the biggest changes is this intelligent search box, which is the main Google search box is getting an upgrade where the AI is watching as you put in your query and kind of adjusting and even trying to help you adjust your query to get a better result. It'll allow you to, it's multimodal. I mean, it's really like a prompt center because you can throw images, multiple images into it and tell it you want to find outfits that sort of match both of these looks. So instead of feeling like...
Got it. And Lance, do we still have you there? We had some tech issues there. Sounds like we don't have Lance. We'll see if we can get him back here. We do want to move on to some more money news now. Ford is recalling thousands of vehicles. NBC News business and economy reporter Emily Lorsch is here now with your Money Minute. Emily, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. That's right. More than 16,000 cars, certain 2021 to 2022 Bronco models. That's because, according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, the roof panels might not have been made correctly, and they can possibly come apart and cause a crash. Car owners can go to their dealers or call Ford for more information. And a new proposed class action lawsuit seeking at least $5 million is going after Disney, alleging the company's theme parks use visitors' biometric information without proper consent. The filing says visitors, quote, have no idea that Disney's collecting this highly sensitive data. On Disney's website, it says entrance lanes use facial recognition technology, and those who don't want to opt in can enter through the main entrances. We've reached out to Disney for additional comment and haven't yet heard back. And a fan favorite beer brewed right here in the United States that's been around since 1849 is reportedly saying goodbye. According to multiple reports, Pabst Brewing Company is discontinuing its Schlitz beer. The company's head of brand strategy telling Milwaukee Magazine in a statement that it's had to, quote, place Schlitz Premium on hiatus, saying that's because of higher expenses. One last batch, though, according to those reports, will be made in Wisconsin by the Wisconsin Brewing Company this weekend. We've reached out and we haven't yet heard back. A sad day for people who have been drinking this beer for so many years.
It is. I'm from the upper Midwest, so, that was a popular beer there. All right. Yeah. Emily, thanks so much. Appreciate it. With college admissions more competitive than ever, many students feel every point on the SAT and ACT can make a difference. Well, now, there's a growing debate about students getting extra time and other special accommodations on those exams. New numbers show those accommodations have become much more common over the last decade. On the ACT, the number of students receiving extra time has risen from just over 4% to 7%, while accommodations on the SAT have more than tripled. Well, now some parents are accusing wealthy families of gaming the system to give their kids an edge in the high-stakes process. Wall Street Journal contributor, freelance journalist Tara Weiss has been looking into this issue, joins us now with more. Tara, good to have you with us. So what are some of these accommodations? Did you hear about students getting? What are they receiving extra time for? Are some conditions like ADHD especially common here?
Sure. So thanks for having me. There are a lot of reasons that people can get accommodations, and they've been going on for years. So this isn't entirely new, but the amount of accommodations that are happening are new. So you can get it for everything from a chronic illness, say you have diabetes, or it can be everything from that to, say, dyslexia, ADD. You can have generalized anxiety. That's a huge one right now. In fact, I spoke to a neuropsychologist who said that her practice has seen a huge surge in students who are coming in because they have generalized anxiety. And because of all of that, people feel that they want to get their kid tested. They're finding out that their neighbors' kids are getting more time, or the entire baseball team is on time. I had one mom I had one mom who told me that she was driving her kids to practice and she learned that everyone in the car had extra time except for her son. And so she set out to find a way to get her son extra time.
Your reporting found some families are actually spending thousands to get diagnoses or medical documentation. I mean, are experts concerned that some people are gaming the system?
Yeah, so this is an expensive process. It's not like you just walk into the learning specialist at your school and ask for this and you get handed a note. You have to go through a couple of different evaluations. One of them would be by a neuropsychologist, and they can charge anywhere from $2,000 to upwards of $10,000. And it's oftentimes not covered by insurance. So it's also a lengthy process. They spend upwards of 8 hours with students getting to figure out what they might have, what their diagnosis is. And it turns out, not so surprisingly, that people who can afford that are more often than not are the ones who not only know about these quote unquote loopholes, but they're also the ones who can afford to get the testing done.
At the same time, I mean, there are students who genuinely do need these accommodations. Yeah. What are their families saying about all this and the backlash?
Yeah, absolutely. They are sick and tired of feeling that they have to defend their child's what they called silent disability or learning disability. One mom even said to me, if your child is average and doesn't have the need for this, then that's a win. They would prefer that to having to take their students and get them evaluated and pay a lot of money. And there are people who have real diagnosable issues. If you have diabetes and your blood sugar gets low and you need to step out in order to have a juice or to have something to regulate your sugar, and then on the other side of the coin, there are people who have started saying that they need this because they have celiac disease. That was one that surprised me. Or they have irritable bowel syndrome and they need to be able to stop the clock and step out and use the bathroom.
Interesting. We only have a few seconds left here, but does this speak to the same kind of pressure we saw during that 2019 college admissions scandal, which included some really high-profile celebrity names?
Yeah, that's a good question. It definitely sort of harkens back to that. I think the big difference is in that case, there were people who were helping them cheat, who were running the testing centers. And in this case, it seems to be like a groundswell of parents saying, oh, did you hear about this? Did you hear this possibility? As opposed to, say, an orchestrated from on high conspiracy.
All right. Tara Weiss, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Let's bring back Tech Radar editor at large, Lance Ulanoff, to talk more about what we were discussing a moment ago. Google learning into, we're talking about AI when it comes to search and using AI more. Lance, tell us more. Are there any early concerns about taking this big of a step into AI? What if someone just doesn't want all the bells and whistles of the new features when they use Google?
Well, you can't really opt out. It's part of the search box has fundamentally changed. But Google tells me that traditional search still there, not going anywhere. So if that's what you want to use, the standard link and summary, that's going to be there. But AI is going to be so pervasive with information agents that can sort of, run your daily searches, look for price drops. You can book directly in search. The universal cart where you buy from a bunch of different merchants and it puts it all together and even notices if things won't work properly together and suggests something else. I mean, it's going to be so active, so agentic. It's probably never going to feel like the old search again. And of course, some people don't love AI, and it's hard to know how they're going to feel about that.
How does this stack up against some of the other AI models that people are turning to for everyday questions like ChatGPT?
Well, look, one of the core reasons why Google is doing this is that he's seen OpenAI's ChatGPT surging in the search space. People talk about chatting something in the way they used to talk about Googling something. I will say, though, Google's models are excellent. Its conversational abilities are excellent. Its knowledge graph is the best in the world. So it is an extremely strong contender. And of course, people know the name and they know that traditionally they search through Google. So they're in a strong position.
What if you don't like change and just want to stick with the old way?
Oh, have you been talking to my wife? She really doesn't like change with these tech things. And I know it's hard but I will say that here's what's happening. AI overviews, which have been around for like a year now, people have actually taken to them. They haven't seen it as so much a change as it's a conversation. And they like it so much that they don't even go to traditional search. So it doesn't always feel like a change. But this is going a step further. So it'll be very interesting to see how people react to the intelligent box.
And of course, it's impacting all those sites that aren't getting the clicks that they used to get as well. But that's a whole nother issue we'll get into another time. Lance Ulanoff, good to have you with us. Thank you so much.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.